Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Bracha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And this lesson, I wanted to deal with a statement that I heard a while back. It's maybe a month or two back. I was watching one of the shorts that the elder brother Amawang Gabar did, and I forgot the name of it and what he was going into, but he mentioned the dark parts of the truth. Okay, and he was speaking on the aspects of the truth that aren't like spoken about too often, but it's still a part of the truth, right? It's still a part of the ministry. It's still a part of the things that we have to endure, the labor, the hardships. All right, and this goes into the parts where you don't always get what you want, right? The parts where you lose things, you lose people, the parts where you might lose your life, right? Those parts, the parts where you're tempted, and then the temptation is harsh and painful, those parts, okay? And I mean, naturally, right? People don't like to think about things that are uncomfortable, but being in this truth, you have to, in order to accept that 100% truth, that's a part of it. Okay, and it's important to keep your mind in that state. As Job said, right? Though he slay me, yet will I maintain my trust in him. Now, taking that at face value, that's easier said than done, because we are programmed to antagonize those that harm us, whether that harm or pain that is caused be for your good or not. It's human nature to go into defense mode, and for example, you're going somewhere, and then bam, you just feel a strong ass slap on the side of your face. Wham! You know what I'm saying? Instinctively, you're ready to throw a punch back. You're ready to, you're ready to hurt somebody. And you're looking for how, why, who, what, when, where. And that, because now the anger is boiling, because the side of your face is red, swollen, and it should hurt. But then you turn around and find out that maybe it was an accident, right? Like somebody was, I don't know, let's just say it was an accident. I can't even think of a way where that would be a pleasant accident, but it was an accident. So now, and then it was maybe like your child, or your mom or something, but they were not trying to hit you, and you just happened to be in the way. So then you just calm down, right? And you sort of like, all right, cool, you let it go. The pain is still there, the sting is still there, but you got to calm down, right? So that aspect of instinctively, when you felt that hurt, it's like, who is this? Is this a threat? It's your body thinking it's a threat. You got to, something got to happen. And so it's going back to the point that I made, like, it's easier to say you would maintain your trust. Meanwhile, you're getting hurt by the one who you said you would maintain your trust in. Think about it, right? Like, in the world today, that's not how people operate. If you have, let's say, a spouse, and your spouse is constantly doing things that hurt you, being unfaithful, not caring for you, disrespecting you, like, these are not things that will keep you in love with your spouse. Like, when people stay, a part of them is like they're hoping they can try to fix them or make things right or change things, but that hurt drives a rift. It separates people. So, but if they're doing pleasant things to you, they're showing you love, they're taking care of you, that's a different story, right? At that point, it's much easier to stay in love. It's much easier to stay together, right? Even friends. When friends start to do things that are harmful to one another or painful to one another, they separate. So now, when it's at a point where it's the Most High doing it, he can literally do it for whatever reason he wants, and you're feeling the pain, right? You're feeling the suffering. You're going through that. And you have to be patient through it. It's much harder to try to maintain your integrity in that kind of situation, and that's a part of the dark parts of the truth. Because you wonder, like, imagine Job's situation. You wondering, like, yo, like, what did I do? You know, you getting pissed off, like, because you're feeling affliction. So I want to read this real quick. This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 2, verse 1. My son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation. And the thing about it is that you're not going to fight the Lord. You can't fight the Lord, and you damn sure cannot make an enemy out of the Lord. So you just got to endure and suffer whatever it is. Suffer patiently the wrath that has come upon you, for whatever reason the Lord sees fit. That is a lot harder done than it is said. So that's why it says, prepare thy soul for temptation, set thy heart aright, set your mind right, and constantly endure. And that's a hard thing to do. It's not easy to constantly endure, especially when what it is you're enduring is a hard thing, you know, because it's one thing to say, you know, oh yeah, constantly endure, you know, you're going to endure, you're going to do this. But look at what happened to Ezekiel with the Lord taking away his wife, right? Or some of the things that, like, for example, Jeremiah had to go through, right? Look at that. That's not something you're like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna, joyfully take this cheerfully. That's, that being in the stocks for so long, and that's not something that is like, oh yeah, I do this for fun. Nobody does that for fun. That's not fun. You know, the things that the men of old had to suffer, being stoned to death, being killed for teaching the word of the Lord. That's not fun. It's necessary, it's needful, but it's not a fun, pleasant thing. Like, people don't like to, when it says the disciples rejoiced because they were beat for the Lord's namesake, it wasn't the beating that they liked. It was the fact that they were able to suffer for the Lord, meaning that they were able to show the Lord through the affliction they went through that they're faithful to him. That was the pleasing part, not the physical affliction. So constantly enduring is not an easy thing, but sometimes it's necessary. And you can't do anything about it. And as a man, when you're put in a situation that you don't like at all, and you feel helpless to do anything about it, that's one of the worst feelings. Because you get so angry, but you can't do anything about it. Because what are you going to do? So it says here, and make not haste in time of trouble. Cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end. And that's why the mind is such a strong thing, because in situations like that, all you got to think about is, continuing on in this chapter, that at the end thou mayest be increased at thy last end. And then you remember what was written in the book of Romans, right? That actually in was it Hebrews, whom he loveth he chastiseth, but also in Romans it says all things work together for good for them that love the Lord. See, so then that's what keeps you going, right? It's like, okay, there's a reward at the end of all this suffering. So this is needful. You have to go through this to get that reward. So now you're not looking at it as just like being punished, but rather you're on the way to get your reward. Even though the way may be paved with pain and discomfort, but that's a part of it. So, keep that in mind, right? That when it comes to, like, for example, having to lose your life, for this truth, it's a lot easier said than it is done, because there are a lot of thoughts and emotions that don't arise necessarily until your life is flashing before your eyes. Then things that you didn't even think you would think about start to come up in your mind. So it's a lot more difficult when you're faced presently with a situation like that. And that's why we need the Spirit of the Lord to endure the things that we're going to have to endure. Especially when you may go into a situation thinking, oh, hey, you know what? Hey, the Lord said we're going to eat. So now, and then it's been maybe 2 days, 3 days. And you're like, yo, Lord, I'm seeing my rib cage right now. Like, like, I don't know how much longer we could go up in here, but the Lord knows how much longer. You don't. But you start getting frustrated because, the Snickers commercial, you're not you when you're hungry. Yeah, because when you're hungry, you start acting different. Now you're like, damn, Lord, like, I was expecting you to do this, that, and that for us, but ain't nothing here yet. Then what? So, I mean, we all hope and pray that, shit, day zero, not even day one, day zero, Lord already got our lunch boxes packed, you know what I'm saying, ready with the water on the side. But whatever it is the Lord may bring, sometimes it may not be what you want. It may not be, fun. It may not be pleasant. But if it's the Lord's will, then there's nothing you can do about it, and you just have to endure it. And that is a part of the dark parts of the truth, right? You might have to give up things, and it won't be fun. And you'll wonder why. Like, what was wrong with this? Why? What? Why me? What? When you read the scriptures, most of the things that are highlighted are the events that took place, right? Like, we saw this man, this happened, this befell this prophet, or this befell this person, but it's not always that it's written what their internal thoughts were, right? Sometimes they would express it in crying out to the Lord, but it's not every prophet who went through certain things that is written what exactly they were thinking and how they were feeling and how upset or angry and frustrated they were. We don't have all those details, but if we did, you find out, like, damn, like the prophets went through stuff. The believers, not just the prophets, but the believers, the men of old, the women that held their faith for the Lord. Like, imagine during the time of Antiochus, and they're like, damn, Lord, like, you just allowing them to do all this shit. And it is like brutality. They're doing brutal things. But hey, you just had to go through it. And now we're in the last go around, and we hope and pray that the Lord, speed up these days. But this time, he gives us that win. He did say it, right? He will comfort us. But just be prepared, in your mind, that there are difficulties in the truth, and sometimes it doesn't hit you until it does. And then you start to see the truth differently. Like, yo, this is real, like this is real. And you had better believe it. That's the only way you're going to get out of these situations. If you don't actually believe in what it is that you're a part of, when you go through hardships and the fun part fades away, and now you're just like, oh shit, like, you going through hard parts. If you don't fully believe in what it is you're in, you won't be able to make it through that. You won't be able to make it through that. So verse 4 says, whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a low estate. Because the Lord does do that. He abases us to keep us humble, and for many other reasons and purposes he may have. Once again, it's much easier said to be patient than done when you're in a low estate. Because what? It's uncomfortable, right? It's uncomfortable. It doesn't feel good. It's not fun. It's not something you want. And maybe it's embarrassing, right? You feel helpless, but you got to be patient through it. And patience can be it can be a simple thing, or it can be a very dreadful thing, depending on what it is that you have to be patient through. But that's why it says, whatsoever is brought upon thee, because it's all a part of the trying, right? Verse 5, for gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. See? So you got to also understand that, hey, sometimes you're going through that because the Lord is trying to get your light to shine brighter, right? The Lord is purifying you. And that purification has to be, you're not purifying gold in water. You put it through fire, because the intensity of the heat is what drives out the impurities. Okay? And that's exactly what it is that we need. We need the impurities driven out of us, that we may become more and more perfect, right, until that day of Yahushua's return. So with that, just wanted to, mention that, keep that in mind, that there are a lot of things we hope for, but it's also important to, have that mental fortitude, knowing that there are dark parts in the truth, parts that, you might not want to necessarily imagine, but it's still there. It's still a part of it. So you got to deal with the whole thing. Anyway, with that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Ruach HaKodesh. And until next time, Shalom.